Hi, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. How many friends do you have? If you say that you have a lot, are you sure that you're not including acquaintances? That's what I want to talk about today. Uh, Friends and circles of friends, the power that comes with it, the support that comes with it, the influence that comes with it. And I'll probably throw in the title here um, something that I often say, and that is you've heard the term or the saying, it's not what you know, but who you know. Well, I say that a little bit different. And I say it's not what you know, but who you know and what you know about who you know. Okay. Did you see The Godfather? This is another in the series of lessons from the old parentheses mafia tradition. And so that's a good place to start because it's something that a lot of people have seen, and a lot of scenes in there are good lessons, and people remember them. It's become kind of a oh, I don't know. It's one of those things that gets into the culture, and phrases and lines get thrown around, by people who usually don't really know what it means, but it becomes a part of the vernacular anyway. Do you remember the first scene? Now, I have to remind myself what's in the movie because I read the book first. The book is much better, okay, as most books are, uh, and the book explained a lot that the movie didn't. And so, if you're really wanting to learn about this, go to the book first, and the movie will probably still be enjoyable, but the movie doesn't touch the book. The first scene of the movie, where I don't remember his name, but the baker comes to Don Corleone, and he's asking for justice for his daughter. Right, his daughter took up with, and he explains he raised his daughter, the old Italian way, to be a good girl and to respect her family and herself and all this. And she took up with an American guy and went out one night with he and a couple of his friends, and they made her drink and took advantage of her. And when she resisted, they beat her and put her in the hospital. So, the guy goes to the police, right? And the police, of course, the justice system, probably not the police, but the police arrested these guys. And they took them to court, and in court, excuse me, the judge let them off with, I think, probation, something like that. Anyway, the guys got off, which certainly wasn't justice. So this baker comes to Don Corleone. He says, "I told my wife for justice, we have to go to Don Corleone." And so Don Corleone says, "And what is it you want me to do?" The guy goes over and whispers to him because he's too ashamed to say, like so often, people want things done, but they don't want to say it out loud. They don't want to say it in front of the world because then it makes them responsible for it. So he goes around and he whispers in the Don's ear. And Corleone shakes his head. He says that I cannot do, something like that. And the upshot of it was that this baker wanted Corleone to kill these guys, right? Well, Corleone says that's not justice. Your daughter's still alive, which is, again, a lesson that I'll probably get into in others. People have this idea that these old type. Now, there's some new ones, that I won't get into. But these old ones, there's this idea that the so-called mafia was just going around terrorizing people and killing people and threatening people and stuff like that. It wasn't at all what it was. And so Corleone explains, you come to me for justice, but you don't ask for justice. You ask me to kill these guys, as if I'm a murderer for money. And that's different. Killing for money is different than killing for other reasons. And And he says, "What? But you don't come and ask me with respect. You don't come to me as a friend." And he explains, "You've always been afraid to be in my debt." And that's another thing that you'll hear from a lot of people. Oh, don't want to be in their debt. Don't want to be in their debt, right? And so Corleone, he goes on and he continues to explain, "You didn't want to be in my debt. I understand. You thought the American system, the justice system, would serve you and protect you and all these things. And now, you find yourself in this position, and now you come to me, and like I said, you don't ask with respect. You ask me to do murder for money. That's an insult." And I think, I'm not sure, but I think that's where this line, it's been a long time since I saw the movie, but I think that's where this line, well, no, I won't even say it because I could be wrong, and I don't want to mislead anybody. It's a great line. I'll talk about it later once I check myself. Anyway, he says, he goes on, he says, "My wife is the godmother to your daughter. I have been here. I can't remember the last time you invited me over to your house for a cup of coffee. You don't come to me as a friend. You never wanted to be my friend." Finally, this baker sees that this is the only way that he's going to get this done. What he wants. These guys taken care of, by for what they did to his daughter. So he finally goes to Corleone and he says, "Be my friend," in kind of a pleading, milquetoast way, begging, kind of unmanly way, "Please be my friend," And at that point, Corleone says, "We'll take care of it," said words to that effect. This is his daughter's wedding day, and they talk about a tradition that's upheld by some, maybe not by others. He says that the movie says, well, on his daughter's wedding day, you can't refuse any petition for his help. Well, I'm sure there was a lot of petitions that he could refuse, but he decided to take this one. And he says, "The day may come that I'll ask you for a small favor in return, but until that day, accept this as a gift, on my daughter's wedding day." And off goes the baker, right? Still terrified. He knows that he's going to get done what he wants to do against these guys, but he's afraid what Corleone is going to ask him to do. He's got dreams. I don't know if it says this in the movie, but the book explains. Now he's all worried that Don is going to ask him to secretly bury all the people that they murder and things like this, and he thinks he's got himself into a horrible situation. Well, as any of you who have watched the movie know, all that Corleone asks him to do sometimes later is when his son, Sonny Santino, gets murdered. He just asks this. Oh yeah, it wasn't a baker. Or was it? Okay, I had to take a break there for a second because I think I got two things kind of messed up. This guy wasn't a baker. That was another guy that asked a favor. Okay, this guy was an undertaker. That's why it comes into this. That's why maybe my story seemed like it was, going off in another direction. It's been a long time since I watched the movie, right? Longer since I read the book. But the lesson's the same. This guy was an undertaker. So all Corleone asked him to do was, when Santino got killed, to take care of his body, and to make him presentable for, his mother to see. And that's all it was. The strength of that tradition came from loyalty, mutual loyalty. It came from people wanting to do for each other, understanding that they were in a group that depended on one another, a group of friends. Matter of fact, some in some circles is simply called friends. Okay, if if a made guy, for instance, is and that's a whole other story. What gets into being a made guy? If a made guy is going to introduce another somebody else who's in the group to somebody else who doesn't know him, he might introduce him as this is a friend of ours. If the guy he's introducing is not in the organization, he'll say it's a friend of mine. If it's kind of an affiliate, he might just say he's a friend. Okay, but it's about friendships. It's about doing for each other. That's where the real power and solidarity came from in those circumstances. And that was friendship that came from depending on and doing for each other, being responsible for and being responsible to other people in your group. I have anyone, like the old saying goes, anybody who thinks that they have a whole lot of friends is a fool, because they've got a whole lot of acquaintances. And there's a danger then that you assign certain attributes to those people that they may not have. And so if you rely on them, you're going to get yourself in a crack, or possibly get yourself in a crack, and definitely be disappointed because you don't know enough about most people to be able to depend on them no matter what. The circle of friends of most people is extremely small. But the larger that you make that circle, the stronger you're going to be, and the stronger each one of those people in it are going to be. Now, what does it take to be a friend? It takes pretty much, first off, you have to respect, and they have to respect the same principles and values as everybody else. It's just a way of living. You should not be a friend with someone who lives in a way that's opposed to your set of values and principles. That's called an acquaintance, or somebody that you know. A friend is much different. It's not somebody who just happens to work in the same office with you. It's not somebody that lives across the street from you. It's not somebody that you play golf with. It's not somebody that you are whatever in a group with. Those aren't friends. They're acquaintances, and people have a tendency to, let me say, they're allowed to avoid making good friends because they think that this number of acquaintances fills their friendship need, and they're not friends at all. A friend, like I say, goes much, much deeper than that, and from friendships, wanting to take care of each other, come power. Okay? And in down times, you want power. Power is influence. Pretty much the same thing. The ability to exert influence over needed situations. Okay, either to promote yourself, protect yourself, get something that you need, keep something away that you don't want. Whatever it is, it's both a shield and a sword. It can protect you, and it can extend your power or your influence. Some people are uncomfortable with the term power. That's okay. Your influence. When you need to influence things for your benefit and the benefit of the people around you who depend on you, that's what we're talking about. I have my friends, and I hope that you all have very good friends. But, we do each other favors all the time. You probably do with yours. Okay. All the time. We don't consider ourselves in each other's debt. Or we might say, hey, I owe you one, right? That's a figure of speech, because at a certain point, nobody's keeping score. Now, somebody across the street wants to borrow your lawnmower. Okay, you let him borrow the lawnmower. And then when you need to borrow something, he says, no, I can't really lend you that. Sorry, I just, okay. Now we have an imbalance, right? And that man has just, cut himself off. You can get whatever you need someplace else. What that man has done is damaged himself, because he'll never get anything else from you. And this is kind of what the lesson in that scene in The Godfather was. Finishing up a thought I was just talking about, my circle of friends, it's almost a competition as to how much we can do for each other. You know, I think I said in a previous one that when Kelly and I were meeting with the preacher who was going to marry us, and he was talking about how important working together and trust and relationships were, and he was kind of a buffoon, to be honest. And I explained to him, I said, relationships come down to this, and that is, whether it's a marriage, a friendship, or whatever, that each person is looking out first for what's best for the other person, and then everybody's taken care of. As soon as one person stops looking out for the other person, then you got two people looking out for one and nobody looking out for the first one, okay, for the other one. And then that's an imbalance, and that's not a friendship. So, a good circle of friends should simply be those people who are ever eager to do whatever it is you need for you. And there's no fear in that. There's no fear. And so this is essentially what most of the that friendship as seen in that tradition, that's what it was about. If this guy when it came time, the Corleone went and said, "Well, I need you to, fix up Santino, so he looks good for his mother before we bury him." If the guy had said, "No, I don't want to get involved," well, do you think that Corleone would have killed him or broken his legs or something? No, no, no. What happened was, he would have found somebody else to do it. He never would have dealt with this undertaker again, and nobody else would have either. See, that's where the power comes from. That's where the influence comes from. That everybody would know that this guy accepted a favor that he asked for and then refused to return it when it was asked for, when it was needed. So this man was outside of the group, outside of trust. His business would have dried up and blown away. That would have been the punishment. Okay. The reason that worked was these people had strict expectations of other people, an understanding of the strict responsibilities they had to others, and strict expectations from other people. So they acted right, because if they didn't act right, everybody would know and nobody would deal with them, right? And if somebody else didn't act right, they didn't go, "Oh, well, that's just them." That's what happens a lot in our society, right? "Oh, well, you just got to understand that's them." And then they just go on through their merry way through life, being idiots. But no, it's by his behavior, he has shown himself to be what he is. It's not acceptable, and therefore he's cut off from the benefits of the friendship circle. So the message here is friendships. Good, rock solid, hard friendships built on shared values, shared expectation, shared principles, to the extent that not only are you willing to do a favor for someone, but it's not even a favor, it's an honor and a privilege to do it for them. Okay? So that actually the honor, if somebody asks me for something, the privilege to do it for them is the repayment to me itself. And when everybody feels that way, everybody's taken care of. And the circle and the friends are stronger. So that's today's lesson from the old tradition, the Mafia for tradition. And it's one that should be applied today, and especially as we go through hard times. You'll find that friendships, which is the next layer outside of family, but like I said before, good friends are better than bad family. That friendships are those insulators and supporters that you need throughout your life. So I hope you have some. If you don't have enough, I hope you make more. Make your expectations hard and rigid, and evaluate hard, be a hard judge of people, so that the ones that you accept into that circle are ones you can always depend on, count on. And you all have a good day. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And one of the most important preparations for tomorrow is friendships today. So have a good day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.